up with a marketing plan that works.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 22 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Did you hear this crazy story? Yesterday, this girl had a tick in her scalp, and she became paralyzed. I guess it was just a temporary paralysis, thank God. But the ticks, I guess when they lay, the female tick lays an egg, it injects some kind of a toxin. I'm not sure what the toxin does for the eggs of the tick, but it paralyzed this little girl, 5 years old. And
horrible.
So yeah, thank goodness it finally wore off and she was able to walk again. We have a really fragile body that we live in. It's very fragile, and the spinal cord is probably one of the most fragile things we have, right? And that's what connects our brain to everything else. Dr. Alpesh Patel knows this well more than I'll ever know it. He's the director of orthopedic spine surgery at Northwest Memorial Hospital. He's talking to us today about treatment options for back pain that includes minimally invasive spine surgery. Oh my gosh, just the word spine surgery doesn't sound good. Good morning, Dr. Patel. Thank you for being on the air.
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you there? Doctor?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chicago, right on the campus of Northwestern Memorial Hospital.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, when we hear anything with the spine or the nervous system, it's almost like it's like the uncharted territory of the human body. We don't seem to understand it as lay people. Thank God there's people like you who do understand it.
Yeah, I'll tell you the reaction that you had about spine surgery of sort of saying, gosh, I don't want it, I don't want to think about it, I hope I never need it, is a really common one. And that is one that I hear day in and day out from my patients. And I understand where it's coming from. There's obviously a lot of uncertainty. You mentioned it's a bit of an uncharted territory. But I think a lot of it is also because of some of the misperceptions about spine surgery in particular. You know, there's concepts that it doesn't work, that it's really risky, it's really painful, and that you'll end up needing more surgery the more and more that you have done. And those are things I hear constantly, you know, obviously from my patients, but I also hear it from my own family members.
But the spinal cord and the spine, two completely different things, right? Do you mess with the spinal cord at all?
Well, so they're separate structures, but they're right next to each other. And the concern is that individuals can develop painful conditions, something called spinal stenosis, where they'll actually develop a pressure or a pinching on either the spinal cord or the nerves, which then leads to fairly severe pain. That's where we then step in as surgeons and are able to find really good solutions for patients with those spinal cord problems.
Wow.
My brother had to have some of his in his neck. He needed some of those. I can't remember the name of them, but those bones that were fused together. And now he can't turn his neck, but it took away his pain.
Yeah, so again, if we think about a condition like your brother probably had, is where he had a pressure or a pinching of the nerves in his neck, and he had pain from it, and surgery is meant to help alleviate that pain. Now, traditional surgery does have some downsides. It does create stiffness. Again, traditional spine surgeries oftentimes leads to a pretty prolonged recovery as well. And that's where some of our less invasive or smaller incision surgical options are really changing that conversation.
And that's a better alternative than being on medication all the time where you could be addicted.
Absolutely. I think for too long we've tried to sort of look to pills for solutions. We've looked for an answer in pill form, and I don't think we're finding that. I think, if anything, we look at the research and we'd say people who take opioid pain medications or painkillers to treat these conditions actually do worse in the long run. They have more pain, more disability, they miss more time off of work than individuals who find other ways of treating their pain, surgery being one of those other ways.
So in your practice, I'm guessing that as the years have gone by, a lot has changed. So is it possible that somebody who was told 10 years ago that they just have to live with the pain, that person today could get some treatment that would help?
Absolutely. I think our understanding of the causes of low back pain has evolved considerably. I think that our ability to sort of predict who's going to do well from surgery and who's not going to do well has significantly improved. Whereas before we had ideas and we had thoughts, now we have data, and we have lots of data on lots of patients that have undergone these procedures, so we can fairly accurately predict who's going to do well and who's not. So I think that if somebody's out there and they've had this painful condition for a long time and they've been told there's nothing that can be done about it, I absolutely think they should seek out another opinion.
And is it usually self-inflicted because of their participation in contact sports in high school, and then it carries with them in their older years?
Well, some of it is our youth coming back to find us, once we're a little bit older. But a lot of it is just the normal wear and tear process that we go through. We know some of this runs in families, so there is a strong familial link. So there's some genetic relationship to the conditions that we're seeing. But it's a little bit of all the above. It's a little bit of what we did in our youth. It's a little bit of what we still do now in terms of how well we take care of ourselves. Do we have a good diet? Do we have a good lifestyle? Are we smoking? Those kinds of things come into play in terms of why people develop symptoms.
Can you help us understand the role that a chiropractor plays with back pain? What is the...
Yeah, so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so chiropractic care, I'm sorry to interrupt. Chiropractic care is one avenue of treating low back pain. I'm not a chiropractor, so I can't speak to the exact treatments they render, but I will tell you we work, at least at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, very closely with our chiropractors, because we understand that there's a relationship that goes back and forth between spine surgeons, chiropractic care, physical therapists, in terms of trying to find the right solution for each individual patient. So I think they serve a role in treating acute low back pain and treating muscle spasms for sure, and we try to partner with our chiropractors as much as possible.
And what about the babies that are born with a spine that isn't quite right? Are you able to help them?
Yeah, so now we're branching into a little bit of a different topic, which is pediatric or kid problems in children. So children can develop scoliosis, which is one common condition. That's the curvature in the spine. And what we found out over time is that a lot of kids with scoliosis will generally do well with bracing and maybe don't need to have the aggressive surgeries that we were recommending 20 to 30 years ago. When it comes to a condition where the spine doesn't close completely, that's a little bit of a different story. That's a little outside of my area of expertise, if you don't mind me sort of putting a stop on my conversation on that, just because I don't really know as much about that condition.
Dr. Alpesh Patel, thank you for being on the air. Can you leave us with a website?
Absolutely, yeah. For a lot more information on what we've talked about, I'd recommend that you visit our website, which is nm.org/radio, nm.org/radio.
Okay, and NM stands for Northwestern Memorial, correct?
Northwestern Memorial or Northwestern Medicine.
Or Northwestern Medicine, okay. Dr. Patel, thank you again. It's been an honor to have you on our show.
Hey, listen, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We'll be right back.
Jennifer McCullough, the Executive Director of Palm Garden.
And I'm Sharon Baker, the Director of Clinical Services.
Last month, I told our listeners all about National Nurses Week, and now we want to talk about National Nursing Assistants Week.
It's the second week in June, and we want to honor all our excellent CNAs who give hands-on care to our precious residents every day. In fact, each department will be doing something special for our CNAs the entire week. It's going to be fun.
A big thank you to our CNAs from Palm Garden of Ocala.
Veterans Helping Veterans USA. Call 352-433-2320. We help veterans and their families with limited financial assistance, counseling, employment referrals, and a food and clothing bank. You can help in making a huge difference in the veterans' lives we serve by donating food, clothing, household items, or direct financial assistance. All donations are tax deductible. Veterans Helping Veterans USA. 352-433-2320. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America.
With a graduate degree in management and leadership from Webster University, there'll never be a better time for you to explore what's next in your career. Classes are scheduled so you can continue your normal workday routine, and the accelerated program means a new term starts about every 10 weeks. If you're looking to gain a broad general management and leadership perspective, then Webster University's Management and Leadership degree program is the right one for you. It's all a part of what's next at Webster University.
Go to webster.edu/manage, accredited by ACBSP.
What do I do now?
After 911, don't worry, call Fakuri. Fakuri Medical and Chiropractic, treating auto injuries for over 32 years. Same-day appointments, immediate medical attention, all under one roof. Don't worry, call Fakuri. Go to bestinjurycare.com. All auto insurances are accepted. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to take your call. Car accident? Don't worry, call Fakuri. bestinjurycare.com.
WOCA, putting the local back into radio.
Here are today's headlines from the source. WOCA State Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam is fuming over a Tampa Bay Times story that says his office failed to fully execute all the background checks required for a concealed weapons permit because a worker forgot the password to the FBI database.
And you answer their questions and you walk them through the process and procedures and the three databases and which ones require fingerprints and which ones require names, that they still run a headline that gets around the world that says that we didn't run background checks for a year, which is flat wrong.
Putnam says that employee has been fired. He also says they had to recall about 300 permits that were improperly issued, but his office is not saying whether any of those individuals committed any crimes while they had concealed carry tickets. There was a solemn remembrance of 49 lives lost.
Akira Monet Murray.
Church bells rang in downtown Orlando in memory of the 49 people killed in the Pulse massacre 2 years ago on the Senate floor. Florida U.S. Senator Bill Nelson commemorated the anniversary.
Today is a day to pause and to honor the victims and the survivors, and to once again to thank the first responders who put their lives on the line to save so many more.
Nelson also mentioned another more recent tragedy, the killings of 4 young children by a gunman who was holding them hostage in an Orlando apartment during a standoff with police. They were identified as 12-year-old Irea Lopez, 10-year-old Lilia Lopez, 6-year-old Aiden Lindsay, and 1-year-old Dove Lindsay. The last 2 are the children of the shooter, identified as 35-year-old Gary Lindsay Jr., who took his own life. The medical examiner is trying to determine when the children were killed. At the Franklin County Jail in the North Florida town of East Point, Sheriff Tony Smith says 10 inmates are recovering after smoking a synthetic drug known as Spice.
We had some inmates who smoked what we believe is K2. They had an adverse reaction to it. Some were hospitalized briefly. One is still in intensive care in Tallahassee. One is at Weems. The other ones have been returned to the jail.
Deputy Smith says the drugs came from a woman who was arrested for trying to smuggle contraband into the Franklin Correctional Institution, a state prison in nearby Carabel. Deputies failed to find the drugs even after a strip search. 4-legged officers in Marion County have new protective gear. Yesterday was the first day Ocala police canines trained with their new vests. The bullet and stab protective vests were a donation from the nonprofit group Vested Interest in Canines Incorporated. Officer Gerard King said, "We will put the vests on the dogs when we run into a situation where we know there's a possibility of danger," unquote. King has been a canine handler since 1998. 4-year-old Zorba Knott is his 4th canine. Zorba Knott is one of 3 canines with the Ocala Police Department that will use the vest. Each vest is custom fitted, and because of the Florida heat, they won't be on the dogs every day, but when they are, it will be an added layer of protection. Ocala Police canines did have vests before, but they were expired and outdated. Florida political scientist Dr. Susan McManus is weighing in on President Trump's meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
This was, by everybody's account, one of the most unusual meetings, and it was regarded as such around the world, and it was a history-making meeting. But, as they say, it's too soon to tell what really will transpire.
McManus teaches at the University of South Florida and says President Trump will get credit for at least trying to break down the barrier between the two nations, even though it will take time to know what the impact of the summit will be. Authorities say a Florida man fatally shot his pregnant wife and dumped her body in a trash bin. A Fort Lauderdale police news release says 20-year-old Martine Bernard's body was found early yesterday morning in an alley behind the home she shared with her husband, 22-year-old Cassandra Blanc. Bernard was 6 months pregnant. Blanc has been charged with first-degree murder for his wife's death, and he's also suspected in her father's killing. Hollywood police say 68-year-old Roosevelt Bernard was found fatally shot in the nearby city on Monday. Police did not say whether both victims were shot with similar guns or what may have motivated the killings. Authorities say they've arrested a man suspected of mailing anthrax hoax letters to several locations throughout Central Florida. A U.S. Attorney's Office news release says 50-year-old Jerry Nelson Stinchcomb appeared in Ocala Federal Court yesterday, facing charges of sending an anthrax hoax and mailing a threatening communication. He faces up to 15 years in prison. Investigators say envelopes containing white powder and threatening letters were mailed to various public and private offices in Lake County, Volusia County, Sumter County, and Orange County from December to May. Starting in March, employees of the Fruitland Park Post Office began intercepting similar-looking letters. Authorities say they caught Stinchcomb dropping an anthrax hoax letter May 30th into a Fruitland Park postal collection box. The letter was addressed to the Lake County Sheriff's Office. Police say a Florida 18-year-old stabbed his elderly neighbor, took her credit cards, and then left her for dead. The Pensacola News-Journal reports Tyler Hayden Owens was charged Monday with attempted murder and home invasion. Pensacola police spokesman Mike Wood said the 82-year-old victim remains hospitalized after being found on Sunday, hours after the attack the night before. Wood said the victim was able to describe the man who stabbed her multiple times after invading her home. Police officers arrested Owens after a search of the apartment where he was staying turned up the victim's credit cards, her blood-covered purse, and a large knife. A police report says he had scratches and gouges on his hands. Owens is being held without bond. When Florida billionaire Jeff Green ran for U.S. Senate in 2010, he was depicted by the media as a party boy who associated with people like former boxer Mike Tyson and actress Lindsay Lohan. Now that he's running for governor, he said he still throws a lot of parties, but the celebrity he's most likely to invite is Elmo from Sesame Street. He's coached Little League and recently opened a private school in West Palm Beach. Green quietly got in the race with less than 3 months before the August 28th primary. His primary opponents, former U.S. Representative Gwen Graham, former Miami Beach Mayor Philip Levine, and Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum. They've been campaigning for months, and yet only about half of Democratic voters say they've made up their mind. Green, who was worth close to $4 billion, made his fortune through real estate investments. A Florida man has been sentenced to 8 months in federal prison for threatening to burn down a Muslim family's new home. A U.S. Department of Justice news release yesterday says a judge sentenced David Howard in Tampa federal court for threatening, intimidating, and interfering with housing rights. He also received 2 years of supervised release and is required to pay $30,000 in restitution. He pled guilty in February. Officials say a Muslim man and his wife were conducting the final walkthrough of a home they had placed under contract in 2016 when Howard approached the couple, the seller, and their real estate agents. Howard told the couple they were not welcome and threatened to burn down the house. The Muslim couple canceled the scheduled closing of the home purchase. 2 zebra foals have made their debut at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The 2 female Grevy's zebras named Yuka and Zalika can now be seen along the park's Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. The first foal, named Yuka, was born to mother Laylee on April 26th. Zalika was born nearly a week later to mother Yuri on May 1st. The young zebra's personalities are already starting to show. According to the animal care team, Yuka is more curious and independent, while Zalika is bashful. The 2 are also closely following their mothers, learning to bathe and eat hay. Grevy's zebras are the most endangered species of zebra, with about 2,500 alive in the world today. The births are part of the species survival plan, which works to maintain healthy animal populations. And those are the headlines from the source, WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Stay put is no accident. On this Wednesday, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a thunderstorm or two around during the afternoon and evening hours, high 88 to 92. And partly cloudy later Wednesday night, low 69 and a few inland spots, 75 at the coast. For Thursday, times of sun and clouds with a stray afternoon thunderstorm, the high 89 to 93. Friday, partly sunny, high 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hey, if you've forgotten that this Sunday is Father's Day, never fear, because good old Bob Wines and his staff at Bob Wines Camellia Gardens still has some great ideas for giving to dear old Dad. How about planting a tree for Dad right now or in his memory? Right now, during Bob Wines' Red Tag Sale on trees, you get 20% off Bob's already super low prices. Hundreds to choose from, even some of those hard-to-find specimen trees. Maybe a crepe myrtle or two. Bob has more crepe myrtles than you can imagine. Prices starting as low as $3.99 or go up to $329 for those large blooming exotics. And you buy one, get one free, delivered, planted, and guaranteed. Go inside their old-timey greenhouse for lots of unusual and unique items that your dad would love. Bob Wines Camellia Gardens open daily till 4:30, Saturday till 3 on Southeast 38th Street. The same blooming place since 1952. Happy Father's Day.
Well, you'll want to take a little more time appreciating your garden today. That's coming up on This Land of Ours.
Load it, haul it, dump it, mow it.
Ag Pro will get you equipped for anything with a John Deere 5045E utility tractor. At only $159 per month, you can add the perfect attachment to dig it, plow it, grade it, anything. Request a quote at agproco.com and get equipped for anything. Offer in 7/31/18. Subject to approved installment credit with John Deere Financial. 20% down payment required. Taxes, freight, setup, and delivery charges could increase monthly payment. See dealer for details. If you're aiming to take out difficult-to-manage pests, choose the insecticide that's always on target, Manecto Pro from Syngenta. Featuring a premix formulation of 2 powerful modes of action, Manecto Pro extends residual control of pests including psyllids, mites, whiteflies, thrips, beetles, and worms. It's also designed to protect specialty crops including citrus, tree nuts, palm, potatoes, and vegetables. So look out, pests. Manecto Pro doesn't miss. Visit your local Syngenta retailer for more information. Always read and follow label instructions. Manecto Pro is a restricted use pesticide.
June 13th is National Weed Your Garden Day, so pull out those garden gloves and show all of your lovely vegetables, herbs, flowers, and others a little appreciation today. Spend an extra 5 to 10 minutes, or even longer, by weeding. Whether you're down on your knees and yanking by hand, or getting a little extra help from a hoe or cultivator, get ahead of the game before the weeds get ahead of you. School's out, why not enlist the help of your children or grandchildren? After all, kids like playing in the dirt. And if not pulling weeds is the way you'd prefer to celebrate today, then do your best to stay on top of your garden every day. Some weed control ideas include using mulch, focused watering, where the drip lines go directly to plants and not weeds, keeping plants together so less rooms for weeds to move in, and pull the weeds when they're young